beans, green peppers, squash, sweet corn all over the country during the summer, and then imports, packs, and ships southern grown produce in the winter. Nagel started the truck garden operation in the early 50s while he was working as an auditor in Minneapolis. His employer let him take summers off to grow sweet corn, and the part-time business was so good that Nagel came back home and got into vegetables full-time. Even though the fresh produce business can be a vicious deal at times because of all the wild price fluctuations, Nagel guided the operation through a growth process that climaxed with 3,000 crop acres in Sibley County, plus more in Texas, and a $750,000 gross. But that was 6 years ago, and when input prices started to spiral, Nagel found it was more economical to squeeze more income out of fewer acres through tighter control and better marketing. 10 years ago, we used to figure it cost us $60 an acre to grow sweet corn, but now it's $150. We just have to watch it closer. Nagel says his family business, sons Dan 24, Chuck 25, played active roles, can't afford to gamble in the produce game like some of the big operators who share the southern growing areas and nationwide marketing channels. Some of those shippers in Texas could lose $1 million overnight and it wouldn't hurt them, Nagel said. They've been established for years and they have all the connections. Connections are important, especially in moving fruit and produce up from Mexico and other Central American countries. Payoffs to the right people are part of doing business south of the border too, Nagel said. Nagel's business depends on using that long stretch of geography between the equator and Minnesota to give yourself as long a season as you can. Most of Nagel's warm season vegetables, plants like eggplants and green peppers are started in Texas and then shipped to Arlington for transplanting. That means that peppers can be harvested by the end of July. The firm employs about 75 farm workers who work in Texas in the winter and then come up to Arlington when the crops are planted there. Nagel himself wintered and worked in Texas for 6 years, coordinating the growing and shipping from there. Dan is down there now managing the company's affairs, including getting lines on Central American produce. A deal to ship cucumbers from Guatemala was postponed when the February 4th earthquake blocked roads and prevented shipments. Most of the produce the company handles is shipped out of Minnesota, according to Chuck Nagel. During the Vietnam War, we even shipped produce over there, Chuck said. At the company's 2 Arlington plants, vegetables are washed, cooled, packed, and shipped out in refrigerated trucks. During the height of the sweet corn season, the operation is going 24 hours a day, sending out 3 semi-loads daily. Two special sweet corn pickers were imported from Florida to handle the delicate ears, which are sold fresh on the cob. A mechanical radish harvester can pick up 6 acres of radishes a day, and the Nagels plant those 150 acres over 4 times again, totaling 600 acres for the season. The radishes are washed and packed in 6-ounce plastic bags. During the 5-month growing season at Arlington, the Nagels often put in 65 to 80 hours a week. It gets pretty hectic and tense, Chuck admitted, but freshness is the name of the game in the produce business. We can keep it cool here for 3 or 4 days until it's sold, but 4 days is really the maximum because it might be on the road for another 2 days and it has to still look fresh when it gets to the grocery store, Chuck said. The ice crusher grinds up 400-pound blocks of ice to be spread 6 inches deep over the truckloads when they are ready to roll out of the Arlington plant. Fortunes, or at least good seasons' income, can be made or lost in a few days in the vegetable game, according to Melvin Nagel. And that makes it different from raising corn and soybeans. You plant it, and then you just hope that somebody else gets bad weather, and you get a good harvest. If New York, Ohio gets heavy rains, we ship east. We hit a good market for green peppers last summer in Texas when they didn't have any. But the cards can fall the other way too. Right now I'm getting carrots for nothing and still can't make money on them, Nagel said. In Texas, they're plowing carrots under. Like all farmers, Nagel likes to compare what he gets for his product with what the stores charge. I took a case of cabbage in the back door and then went around to the front door to see what they were getting for them. And there was a 400% markup, Nagel said. Sometimes you have to wonder if they really need that much. Okay, that kind of gives you a brief idea. And there was also other things that my father, he was a true entrepreneur. As I mentioned at the start of the article, he was also an auditor. At one time, he was selling baby butlers and eggs as a salesman. Minnesota produce and winter Texas are just notes that I didn't give you. He was in the brick business for a few different years, creating mosaic bricks. He tried the maple syrup business, tapping maple trees. And he was in the Christmas tree business as far as selling them, around Christmas season and flocking them, and in several different communities around Arlington, Walm, and Gaylord, etc. He also went ahead and had the carp business where he dammed off Pilot Creek and herded off with snow fencing, herded off all the carp into a pond and had tankers load them up and ship them to Chicago. He was in the birch firewood business, had all kinds of birch wood cut and stacked up. Sadly enough to have it all catch on fire and burn up. But anyway, he also imported snow peas from Guatemala. He tried selling bulldozers and large equipment and export sales in Central America. And the list goes on. My brother probably can remember some more. So he was definitely a true entrepreneur. So anyway, we're going to miss you, Dad. If anyone has any memories they'd like to share, I'd like you to come up now, please, if you could do so. Or she says something about this.
Nagel produce, Arlington, Minnesota. Out of the office for a little bit. Leave me a message and have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Growing up with Nagel as my father was wonderful. He showed me life and taught me to be strong. It has taken me to many places and has allowed me to survive in what is sometimes a tough life. He did have a softer side to him, though, which I got to see most, being his own daughter. As he got older, he would always make it a point to tell me he loved me when we were saying goodbye. He truly was one of a kind. He lived life to the fullest, more than anybody I know. I am so proud to say that he was my father. I will miss him more than I can say. Daniel? This is Colton, Mal's oldest grandson.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you all for attending this afternoon. My name is Colton, and I'm Mel's oldest grandson. Mel always told me one thing growing up, and that was never to give up and keep your ambitions. His concerns weren't about how my grades were in school, but how the ladies were treating me. Even when I was 7 years old, he would still question the facts. I was still around so I could share a few stories with him. He also gave me a great opportunity to learn gin rummy at a young age. Regardless if there was money on the table or not, he would still grunt if I won a hand. Mel not only was a loving grandfather, but the only one I've ever had. He would always give me advice on life's mysterious questions. I'm grateful for that, and knowing that he was there for me. God bless you, Grandpa Mel. Rest in peace.
Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Nagel. I'm the middle grandson of Melvin Nagel. Mel was my only grandfather, but definitely had more personality than anyone else I've ever met, and was enough to fill the shoes of 10 grandfathers. Growing up, I was always very excited to visit and spend time with my grandpa. When I was younger, he would come out to California to visit us and hang out in our garage. I was always eager to go out there, and we'd pass time having guy talks and listening to him tell me stories. In the summertime, we would come out to Minnesota to visit him, and some of my favorite memories were when my older brother and I would go out to Mel's plant, and my grandpa would let us ride his tractors around, reluctantly, but that was a great time. And when we got a couple years older, he let us borrow some of his old cars, and we raced those around and go down to Poppy's Woods and mess around a little bit. And do a little bit of donuts in the gravel, and that would really upset him, but he loved us. And of course, there was always the big card games with all the older guys, and it was always a blast watching those. They were really entertaining to watch, all those guys, all the wild personalities and just craziness, and there was a lot of energy there, so that was very exciting to watch. And there are many things I admired about my grandpa. He was a hard-working man who worked his entire life, and he also loved to have a great time. He's really inspiring to me, and he inspires me to go out and work hard for what I want in life. His strong personality has had a great impact on me because I always speak my mind and stay true to myself, just like he did. I did not get to spend as much time as I'd like to with him, but I'll always remember and cherish our memories. And I love him a lot, and I'll miss him very much. Thank you.
We have Natalie, Melvin's granddaughter, who has a special request from some of you, hopefully, because Mel was just taking a break this year, unable to put in a crop, but you can bet next year there will be a crop, especially if you all help.
So you all have this lovely card.
Hold it closer to your mouth.
I put these together myself and glued the seeds to them. So I'm going to read this to you right now. I have come to the end of my journey and traveled my last weary mile. Please forget I ever frowned and only remember my smile. Do not grieve for me. I would not want you to be sad for a day. But in the summer, just plant the seeds and remember me each and every day. Mel's passion in life was to plant a crop every year. We will remember him as the Radish King of Arlington. This year, we would like to ask his friends and family to plant radishes in his memory. Please take the seeds home and plant them. They will be up in a week and ready to eat in a month. As you watch them grow, think of him and remember the good times. During this month, I hope you will feel the passion and the joy that drove Mel to do this all of his life. When you harvest your radishes, eat them in his honor. May the memories of the Radish King live on in your garden. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, well, so we all have our mission now. Hopefully you all have your seeds. If you don't, they're easy to find.
And?
Old people.
There is more of these I'm putting out
crop just got larger.
Thank you.
Well, I want to share just a few memories about Dad as well. Most of them have been covered, and any I've forgotten, we're going to welcome you up to remind us. But some of the things maybe that weren't mentioned and you might not have known, I guess I call it in the beginning. When he graduated from high school, he enrolled in the Army, and believe it or not, he was a medic in Alaska. About that. In fact, I had his old needle kit, but he never gave me a shot. Oh, sorry. I had his old needle kit, but I didn't get a shot. Then when he got out of the military.
Close to your mouth.
Okay, is that better when he got out? Thank you.
I only got one ear working, so.
Never had anyone tell me I'm not talking loud enough. This could be fun. Okay. When he got out of the military, he decided, well, he wasn't going to be a lifer. At 19, he went to Chicago and enrolled in a refrigeration school and became a refrigeration technician. That didn't last. So he came back home a year later and he enrolled in the Minnesota School of Business. There we go. And as Chuck said, he became an accountant and was an auditor, but there was other things, greater heights, and he met my mother, of course, and they were married, and soon there was a son, Charles. Lots to do. During that time, he was a multitasker, yes, selling almost anything that he could. He, of course, yes, as Chuck said, sold eggs and sweet corn and baby furniture. So that multitasking and marketing works. If you can't get them on one angle, you get them on another. You always got to have a bag of tricks. One day, however, while reading the Sunday paper, he read about the great flood in Kansas City in 1951 that destroyed all the vegetable crop, and saw that corn was 25 cents a dozen. And went, 25 cents a dozen, I can get that for nothing. So he got a truck and went down to a cannery field in Waseca, and they loaded it, and he went to Kansas City and said, I'll find someone to buy it. It was gone within an hour. So he came back with your father and loaded another truck, and the rest is history. So it is about opportunity. And he saw that, and by the way, that was the end of his accounting career. Nothing like easy money. He ran that business for 60 years in the community, and I should say a supportive and ambitious community who really backed it. Without this community and you people. In fact, anyone who worked for Nagel Packing, please stand up right now, even if it was an hour. If it was even 1 hour, here they come.
I think I did.
If you ever worked for Nagel Packing, they're coming.
Actually, I did.
No.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
There you have it. So I guess I better be careful. He turned all stones, of course, and sweet corn, radishes, cabbage, carrots, cucumbers, zucchini, green beans, eggplants. Tried it all in Texas and Arizona. Eventually on to Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Belize, Colombia. Hard to believe. I used to tell them, what are we doing down here? We don't belong here. They're going to know that we're not familiar with this business. Just tell them you're second generation. It worked. Of course, there were sidelines when the crops weren't growing, like bricks, Christmas trees, carp, birch logs, maple syrup, heavy equipment. There was always a deal. On to the next deal. But the man was creative, ambitious, tenacious, self-confident, charming, humorous, and my way or the highway, if you knew it. Nonetheless, he did have a formula, and the one thing that I really want to convey to you that he has given us is that he believed. He believed in himself. And when you believe in yourself, you can do anything with a little bit of passion, and he had it. So I think that's really a formula, no question. And he never looked back. He never gave up. In fact, the morning he died, he was making notes to grow corn in Belize. And got up and went to the men's room and left us. Like Elvis on the bathroom floor of the other king. So yeah, he was always thinking about the next deal and always definitely believed in himself, and that's how you do it. You see yourself like David saw Goliath and said, no problem, because he believed. creates trust, and with that, you've made the sale. And that is what he gave us. His view was, of course, the glass, which people talk about being half empty and half full. Oh no, Mal saw it overflowing. His mission? He had things on the front burner, the back burner, and always working the deal. That's all I can tell you. That was his ambition. And constantly recreating himself, and that's what we always have to remember. Is just keep on plugging every day. If you don't like the format, change it. The last thing I want to talk about, the ride. What was it like? Well, two quick stories. When I was 4 years old and we just moved to Arlington, on a stormy night with the trees snapping and the new public alert system telling us time to get in the basement, we know what that's all about. My mom woke us up and we rushed down the steps and we huddled under the steps. We were all gathered there, and I looked around and went, wait, where's Dad? And my mom kind of looked at me lost and whispered, he's upstairs sleeping. No fear. Trust me, if you knew the man, no fear. It's a line of sporting goods now, I believe, but Mal created it. The other was what I always call the swap. While on the way to visit relatives, many great relatives, some of them who are here today in southern Minnesota, we were doing, I don't know, we were in a Lincoln, probably about 100. That's only in second gear, you know, in a Lincoln. And boom, on come the cherries, and we're all in the back seat, and next thing we know, my dad's grabbing my mom and literally throwing her over his lap into the wheel, into the driver's seat. And he scooted under her, and the cop caught up to us. Of course, they pulled over, came up to the window, and my dad she was saying, why do you want me to take the wheel? I said, because remember, I don't have a driver's license. Well, makes sense to me. To us anyway, until the cop got up to the car and asked my mother if you could see her driver's license, and it was the lowest whisper. She said, I don't have one. I knew right then as a child my life was not going to be boring. There are 100 of those. Did I say 1,000? Of those stories. So, and on that, thank you, Dad, because it was a great ride, and yours was a great run. I hope I can have the same. His gift to me, last but not least, was better than cash that we receive sometimes for the next generation. It was better than a helping hand. He inspired me to sing my own song. He inspired me to believe in myself, and he loved to sing his song. I used to go down and listen to him because he wasn't home. He was working, talking to people around the country, going, what do you mean you don't want it? That was a great song. And by the time he hung up, they took an extra load. Sing your song, believe in yourself, and you can go places. So thank you. Thank you, Dad. And there's one thing that you can do for Mal, if you would, this great community, and that's keep sharing the crops, the spirit, and the love, because then you're truly living large. Thank you.
Okay, y'all have to go home now. Well, we rented the hall by the hour. It's a long story.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yeah, give us
Oh, we have the janitor here who wants to talk to you, give some instruction on how everybody should clean their own place. Bring him up, Henry. Oh, you take checks?
Mom's gotta get up there too.
Some of you know him. If you don't, you should.
Gotta make my mom.
Well, being the last of Henry L. Nagel's sons, I guess I should say a few words. Reflecting back to the farm, I always remember Mal because it was Earl, Raleigh, Mal, Harold had left home, and myself. And of course, chores time, Mel would be sitting there. I said, what are you doing? I'm making a list. I said, a list? Yeah, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do this scientifically. Well, he never got it done. So Raleigh and Earl and I, we had to pick up the slack, but he's still sitting there figuring how he's going to do it. So anyway, that was life on the farm. And of course, Mel always referred to me as the conservative one. He didn't use those words, of course. But yeah, we'll always remember him. And all in all, he was a pretty good brother. So, thank you. Anybody else?
Mom, Marion.
Marion, you want to say something?
When, hold on, now be careful, because I've heard this version, but now there's witnesses here. There are witnesses, so, but one more time. You walked to school with him? Oh, did you drive? Where did you go to school?
High school.
Oh.
Melvin I was a freshman, he was a senior. And every morning he'd stand in the mirror, let's go. He had to have his hair just so, just go. He just, oh, we're late.
What are you looking at? Another thing I inherited.
So the teacher, dump a pail of water over his head. Yeah, I said, well then I'd really be in trouble. So we'd never get to school. That was, I don't know.
So did he inspire you to sell Christmas trees?
Yeah, and so
Are you still doing them?
I sold 60 plants yesterday.
Really? And Christmas trees in December? Did you hand out your card?
100 wreaths every Christmas day.
Oh, there you have it.
How about radishes? Did you sell radishes?
We all like
She
to
made
sell.
us sell radishes.
And when Melvin just started, he had this packages of the radishes.
Saddlebags, yes.
So my daughter, little. So we took the wagon, went around and the mobile homes right down the hill from us.
Quarter a
We
bag.
got Quarter a bag. Quarter a bag. And I still got those bags. I gave them to Chucky. Yeah, little Nagel package. Never a dull moment with him.
Never. It can be said, obviously, that he had the courage to live life to the fullest. Some of us fret about tomorrow because we should naturally not hit.
What about your show?
No fear.
He's got a.
Okay, anybody, where's Mr. Tom Graham? Did he skip out?
Hey, let me talk first, Danny.
There we go. This is a man.
I can never miss a photo op. I'm Rick Rocky, big deal, part of the neighborhood. Daniel, Charles, time for supper. Where were those boys?
We're still out in the street playing.
Oh no, you were up in the. I never got to be part of the program where they had the Playboys at the upper part of the garage. You had to be part of the special club. Oh, you were part of it, huh? This is the truth, as it was. Then from the shed, they moved out to the barn, out by the creek. But we'll go on to that. One thing about Mel, I will attest. Do some of you remember Rock Hudson and was it Doris Day in Wheeler Dealer? Was it? When I heard Wheeler, whenever I see that movie, Hefty, whenever I see that,
You know, there could be a short and a court.
There you go, you're back again.
When you don't tell the truth.
come again? You shouldn't have been talking, Henry. Okay, in those days. But anyway, Wheeler Dealer. And every time I heard that movie, or even saw it, I said, Mel Nagel. Mel has been granted with when the rest of us choose to take the safe and easy way out. Mel always took the hard way and paid the price sometimes, but won the big prize a lot of times too. He was not ever afraid of losing his ass. Never. I don't know. He was a wheeler dealer. He never, I don't know if he didn't even think about it or he didn't care. I have no idea. But I do know that he raised the bar. And I also know that Mel was responsible for sending countless people from Sibley County and paying for their education. Because without his entrepreneurship of hiring these 75 and 80 kids with no bathrooms out in the field, they would not have been able to have spending money or go to college or anything like that. Mel was directly responsible for that. Countless, also like Gene and Betty Peterson, courtships too, marriages that lasted forever, and countless other things. But Mel was a true wheeler and dealer, and he gave Arlington, he actually put Arlington on the map. He did. We were lucky and blessed. You know, there's no characters really left in town. Mel, Marvin, Dickie, Vic, Fresher. I mean, where do you get guys like this? You can't find them anymore. There's no, our heroes are gone. The reason some of us stuck around and they're not here anymore. It hurts. But anyway, I just want to say thank you, Mel.
One thing, Barry, you probably didn't know is a lot of those students that had all that money put away, just before they went out to school, Mel got them in a poker game. So some of them got a real education. But we hope they put it to a good cause. I'm going to read something from dear friends of ours, family members, Floyd and Leanne Amundsen, who are here today, who are my cousin and her husband, who spent a lot of time with my dad and were fortunate enough to follow him around on some of his exploits to Texas, Arizona, Mexico, and the like. And so just a quick word from Lloyd. He first met Mel in the mid-50s, started going with his wife Leanne, and I know the very first time I met him I thought, what a guy. I had been around some wheeler dealers as a young guy, but nothing to compare to Mel. As I saw him in the early 70s, Mel and Marion asked Leanne and I and our children to join them and with Leanne and her friends down in Corpus Christi, Texas during the Christmas holiday. After spending time in Texas, we're going to Arizona to spend time with my relatives. We had the most wonderful time with the Nagels you could ever imagine. Mel really knew how to have a good time and party. I had taken a fairly large sum of cash along, plus 2 credit cards. Good move, Lloyd. When we left for Texas and Arizona, I called him back in Waldorf and had them wire money to Arizona that when I got there I would have some, and I was about out. Like I said earlier, he knew how to show you a good time. I learned right there that if I was going to travel in his company, it takes a lot of cash. Cash is king. Leanne and the kids and I met him and Marion one more time a few years later in McAllen, Texas. Then again, we traveled to Mexico and all around southern Texas. He was very good about showing our children a good time, especially when we were in Mexico those 2 times. For many years, Melvin and I could call one another during the winter. He always wanted Len and I to join him at different countries south of the border where he was doing his produce business during the winter. Boy, he had you fooled. One winter in the 80s, Leanne and I went to Mesa, Arizona to spend some time with my parents. We met Mal in Nogales, and the 3 of us flew to Mazatlan, Mexico, where we met one of his growers in Mexico who had put in Mel's crop. They drove us around Wasabi, Mexico, and they stayed for 5 days, spent time with the grower and his foreman, then drove us 100 miles north to another big town. Actually, they were busy loading your rental car with the real cargo. I remember that trip, it was very profitable. We spent a few days there, and with another grower, we flew back to Nogales, Arizona. For Leanne and I, it was the trip of a lifetime. Mal really knew how to travel and get around down in Mexico. Leanne, Melvin, and I always stayed in contact with each other pretty much right up to the end. He was a close friend of mine who I'm really going to miss. Thank you, Mel. Her memories are golden. We go from a tribute to Melvin in the roots with him beginning when he was married to Aunt Marion, and vividly remember their wedding dance at the Pine Ballroom in Wells. Was I there?
I was.
They both take a few pictures for my mom, and they were a lovely couple. Uncle Mel, handsome of course, and Marion beautiful in her long white gown. Wish they could have been there. Mel was a strong man. He sat right down with the Pressure Brothers, which included my dad Roscoe, for many a hot, serious game of cards. There were many Pressure family gatherings, holidays, birthdays, parties. We all had fun with Mel and Mary and Uncle Vic Pressure, his wife, Marilyn, and at the Cato Ballroom. I think I've been there. They let you folks in the Cato Ballroom? One time, Mel's brother Earl and his attractive wife Helen joined us for another good time at the Cato Ballroom. I just remember one night when all of us stopped at the Club 22 in Mapleton, Minnesota. Now that one I did buy. They wouldn't let me in though when they found out. You guys. Whatever. On the way home from the Cato, and for many times Uncle Mel bought a trunk load of the best radishes I have ever eaten. Bright red, tasty, and juicy. Every Pressure family reunion, he drove up with his stately big black four-door Lincoln trunk full of radishes. Got them here today. The size of golf balls, mind you. All from Nagel Packing Company in Arlington. Mel had many gifts. He was an excellent produce grower. He was skilled in figures. In fact, he went to college to become an accountant, as we all know. Ran a large company, and he also worked for Boulay and Anderson, an auditing company, and that's a whole other story too. Briefly, when he worked for them, as an auditor, of course, reviewing the books, everybody knows that that's you bury your head in the numbers. And but they found out that Mel was better suited to be with the clients while they were reviewing the numbers, if you can figure that one. So they had Mel take them back to the dining car while they did the audit, and Mel kept them on ice. And I mean, literally. That's a true story. Mel tried to keep everybody on ice. Okay. He was a master of the telephone. One time we were in line at Luby's Cafeteria in Texas, and he had a long cord phone. He kept walking and talking until he ran out of cord. We were in McAllen, Texas with friends, Dale and Judy from Waldorf. We were staying at the Sheridan Hotel, walking out front. Who spotted us and called us? Uncle Mel and his son Dan. We were in McAllen, Texas, didn't know we were there. Both walking to the ice machine at the Sheridan and bumped into each other 2,000 miles away. Might be some divine intervention there. That was another night to remember. Yeah. The highlights in Reynosa, of course, and all those good days. He told Lloyd, pull up the steep hill when they get to a stop, and the Mexican came running. Uncle Melvin jumped out and stood up, and then they said, Tarzan. That was his title in Reynosa, Mexico. That's another story. Melvin, it is true, however, he had connections and contacts, and they came to guard our car all evening until we left. Mel always had a good rapport with the Mexicans. His last legal trip? Why not? His last loyal Mexican worker in Minnesota was
Juan is working, of course.
That Trevor guy, and I'm glad that you mentioned him, because after my brother and I had to move on to other venues, Juan stayed and loyal to my father and really was the backbone of the operation, literally the backbone.
And it's too bad he's not here because he deserves a hand.
Yeah, let's give him a hand anyway. A lot of you know him, incredible guy.
Andy was even Dad's butler and chauffeur.
Did
his
it all,
laundry, everything.
absolutely. And the way they got along, because Juan at one time, English was limited, but Mal spoke Spanish. He had quick Spanish. He added an IE to everything. Whenever he wanted Juan to clock out, he'd say, "Punchy? No punchy."
Brilliant.
It was great to have, be with Mel and the farmers. When we flew home, we lifted in the air and could see miles and miles of marigolds. No doubt that was your trip to Mexico. Finally, Leanne and I, he met us many a time at Whiskey River in St. Peter. Are they still open? Yeah. Well, you can bet if you called Mel to meet you at an ice cream social or Whiskey River, you made a smart choice if you were looking for him. We always had a special time together. We always had numerous family gatherings at Whiskey River celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. I sent Mel a groovy uncle card for his birthday, and what he does. He brings it all and slips in a $100 bill and stands up and shows the card and flashes a $100 bill and said, "This is the nice kind of niece I have." If Leanne had put money in there, it would have been 1,000. It came natural to him. Mother's Day 2009, we had a great day. We all met again at Whiskey River, and then we all came to our home in Mankato. There was a concern if Mel could find his way. Guess what? He was the first one at our home, never having been there. He got there even before Lord and I arrived. He was 80 at the time. I think, well, actually, he was having his driver's test the next morning because he was planning on getting his driver's test back. And if we would sign that he got there first, they were no doubt going to re-endorse it. There was always room for Uncle Mel. The day he gave me 2 zucchini transplanted and then said, "Think of me when you harvest the zucchini." The blessing of that day was all for Uncle Mel and Marion and their family being together. We had a memorable day. There you have it, all great memories. We have one word from a gentleman here who came as the honor.
Dad, I want to say something.
Oh, well then, yeah, we got to, please bring it in here. This guy doesn't need an introduction. Just in case, it's Jim Odegaard.
Now, I can actually tell you, I did have a 50-year run with Melvin. I moved radishes when I was 6 years old. And I still was never considered a king butcher. That was Johnny Shear, right down the street here, not too far. And I remember Grandpa Henry. We all thought we were smart, 6 years old, put rocks and dirt in the bottom, make the baskets feel heavy. Well, Henry taught us every time. And we'd go out in the bus and we'd go swimming in the Minnesota River. And we would actually, Henry would say, "You do that again, you're not getting it right home, you're walking all the way back to Arlington." And we had such a good neighborhood growing up. I mean, we had the Gleedens, we had the Kleckels, we had the Nagels, the Harns.
The Truckies, the Clays.
It just goes on and on, the Truckies, the Gables.
Myers.
And it is, it's just endless. We had such a good neighborhood. And Charlie's sitting over here looking at me, and I'll never forget when my first year, 6-year-olds bunching, Mel, when I was 7, got into pumpkins. And Charlie and Craig, Louis Nagel, and Danny and myself, we were the team. Except Danny, as smart as he is and as lazy as he is once in a while, he was on top of the truck, and here I am, 7 years old, trying to throw them 14 feet in the air, and they weighed about 30 pounds. And now I'm wondering why I got built the way I did. And then when it changed, when I got tired, Danny would come down and throw them up. And I was fortunate even as much as in January. Danny was down, Colton was down, we had a card game at my house. I had literally had a 50-year run with Mel. From working for him, working with him, playing cards with him, and it was great. And I'll never forget him in my life, ever. Thanks.
My name is Barrett Matthews. I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas. And through a chance meeting with Chuck Nagel 43 years ago, me and another guy were shanghaied by the Nagel packing people to come up here and work.
Stole American flags too.
And discovered all sorts of things about life in a small town, and really enjoyed the hospitality of the Nagels. Found out what working with Radish is about, and never came back. This is the first time I've been back here since 42 years ago. And that's not because I didn't want to. It's just a long, long way. But in any event, I've stayed in touch with Dan and Chuck and Luann, and because of that chance meeting, I guess indirectly, Mr. Nagel gave me a large circle of friends. What would you say, Chuck or Ray? Maybe 40 or 50 people. We all know each other and have stayed in touch all these years because of that chance meeting. So that's kind of my gift. I really enjoyed the Nagel family, and I wish I could do it again. I don't think so. So good luck, Mel.
For just a moment, I want to bring Ray Alvarez up here, please.
Oh, boy.
Some of you know him, and those that don't know that as much as Juan worked for my dad for at least 30 years, Ray goes back a little further, probably almost to the beginning. Your father's name was Rogelio.
Correct.
When did he first meet Mel? What year?
59.
1959. You saw the sign right there. Yeah, that's almost 60 years from the beginning. And your family came from Donna, Texas, the valley, every summer to Arlington to harvest crops, pack the corn. Yeah, and did it, and you're still here today. So what?
I'm not harvesting anything.
Well, what we did. Well, my assumption is that you like it here. We hope.
Okay.
You know what it is, and I know it's reluctant. It's about the last paycheck. We'll square up here again. I've been busy.
I hope so.
But no, your family, and of course many other families that we could stand here and mention, came every summer and worked very long hours. Yeah, absolutely. So we couldn't go anymore. And then after an hour's rest, Mal would go, come on, there's one more load to load. All right?
Yes.
So thanks for your service and thanks for your loyalty. Really.
Thank the family.
Yeah,
How many kids was in the family? I forget.
How many in your brothers and sisters?
Yes, see, heck, I don't know.
You married a brother, your brother and your mother and father are both married here.
Out at St. Mary's.
Yes, my dad is buried in Mexico.
Oh, I'm
My
sorry.
mother
Your
is
mother.
buried in
Okay, it's in there. Yeah. Okay, and you're gonna be buried.
Oh, you're gonna talk or am I gonna?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about it. My name is Ray Alvarez, and I've been here since 1959. I'm 8 years old. And I remember Mel. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be like him. And after I grow up, then I figured, no. I'm going to change. I'm going to do something else. But he was a great man to our family, and a lot of families, we, a lot of them, we used to come every year, and we got good memories about him. He used to dance. My dad used to play the violin, and my brother Jesse used to play the guitar. We'll have dances every other day. So we didn't work. Actually, it was more like fun. But good memories we have, of course. We all have, we all go with ups and downs. We don't judge people by being bad or good, or who are we to judge? The only thing we have to say is that to us, he was good, and we're happy. We're very happy to have him. Not anymore, but still in our memory, in our hearts, we still love him. Thank you very much. You can keep on now.
Hi. Now, I have known the Nagel family for 56 years. We've been in Arlington. And the love, like they keep all saying, like dances and Luann and Chuck, the love has always been there. Marion was one of my favorite neighbors, and she helped Mel. Now, you gotta give her credit, too. She's a wonderful neighbor and mother. Let's give her a hug. To know all those pressure kids and the pressure family, loving family. That's what it takes in a community. Mel, Ravish King, but you have to love a community, just like Raul says. I mean, I know you too. You come in my plumbing shop. So I mean, it's just very important that you all support one another, love one another, and remember all those good memories. Thank you.
Well, I guess the truth will really come out now. My name's Tom Graham. I'm from down by Henderson. My first paying job in my life was bunching radishes out on the 80 with Henry. The first day, the only day I did it, I filled 3 bushel baskets, and my check that I received the day after Thanksgiving was 69 cents. It was 1959. That started a long relationship. I was one of the guys that he put through college. I can honestly say that. I worked the 4 years that I was in college, and it was a great experience. I mean, the learning activity there was something else. I remember being out at the barn out at Schumann's on Saturday night when Rogelio was playing. That was a lot of fun. And a few other times during the week too, like you said, Ray. And we don't have enough hours in the day to tell all the stories I could tell you. But I'll just relate a couple, about the art of the deal and always being one step. Was a couple of the older guys back in the late 50s, early 60s when they were starting to expand a little bit. And in those days, payday was on Friday. So there was a couple of these, kind of part-time farmers, part-time workers. They'd go up to Tom Burke's afterwards and cash their check, drink a beer, and then go home. Well, Mel got in the habit of coming up there and having a beer with them too. And before they broke up, Mel would have most of their paycheck borrowed back from them for the next month, so they quit coming. So, things like that, and the community, it was nothing to see a dozen sweet corn trucks waiting to load during the corn pack. The old Arlington motel was almost full. I think they had rooms reserved there for truckers, and it'd be nothing to see a bunch of trucks just waiting. And he was an innovator. If you looked at the old radish plant and the old sweet corn plant, between Mel that thought of it and Bert Berger that designed it, there was stuff out there that you wouldn't see anyplace else. I mean, that old sweet corn cooler out there, I don't think there's another one in the world like it. But they figured it out and it worked. So, I mean, like I said, we could tell stories all night, but I just had to throw in a couple, and it was a great run, and we'll sure miss the old guy. One more. Most of you know, or some of you know, I live down near Henderson in the River Valley. I've experienced some of the big floods when the roads go under, and it seemed like right about the time the water was cresting, I'd get a call. It'd be Mel. Well, how's the roads down there? How do they look? And how much crop you got under? How's that intersection down there by Terrio's? Is that underwater yet? He really didn't care too much about my crops. He had this back way that he went to Mystic, so he didn't have to go out on highway. He was wondering if he could get through, and that was really what it was about. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Maloney. I worked for Mel for 10, 12 years. And it was a real learning experience, by far the most I've ever had. Nice thing about it is I was the foreman, but there was no union, there was no human resources. It was just whoever wanted to work. And I learned how things, how the family could work to get what they wanted. I still remember one night, Dan wanted a car to go to the cities. So he went home and talked to Mom about it, and she nixed it. So he came down to the plant and he said, watch this. He went in and told Mel he wanted a car, but Mom said no. Mel gave him the key, he said, and fill it up with gas on your way out of town. And, but there were many, many, many different things, from ordering ice from St. Paul to, which was another experience. He'd send trucks up to the cities with produce, and then he'd have them swing by sanitary ice and pick up a load of ice on the way back. Well, some of those trucks weren't built to haul 400-pound cakes of ice, and that led to some problems. And but it was a really, really good learning experience. Sometimes Mel communicated pretty directly with me, like I'd run full shifts from like 7:30 in the morning until 2:30 the next morning, 100 hours a week. And Mel would get back from the cities like 2:30 in the morning. He'd stop down and see what was going on. And at the last semi hadn't been loaded, he'd question me as to what was happening, you know. And I still remember he used to come down on me big time, and I'd find myself looking up at him like this. So I decided I'm going to figure this out next time. So he comes in there at 2:30 in the morning, I'm looking straight ahead. He walks right up to me, and I look straight ahead, I'm looking right at his Adam's apple. And he's got to back up and look down at me. And so that worked out pretty good. And I got along really good with Harold, because Harold was the bookkeeper. He wanted things done perfectly, the details. Mel was more of a big picture type person. He didn't worry about the details. And so Harold and I got along really good, and I think Mel appreciated that too, that, you know, we did a good job, and it was really fun. Thank you.
And then we'll let you go. But not without acknowledging, and as Tom said earlier, it was definitely a family business. Too many families and too many people to mention. But these two gals, you think I'm just hitting on a couple of hot chicks here. It's Irene Berger and her father, Bert, worked with my dad, who anybody in the operation, including Tom, would know, kept it running. Without Bert, he fixed anything. He was impressed because even though he wasn't formally trained, once during a warranty battle with Minneapolis Moline, they denied us $1,600 in parts, and my dad drove back up there with Bert, and when the meeting was over, they left with the parts for free. So, your family is a big piece of our history.
I think all of us were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I started. You go ahead. Everybody else is doing it. Worked on the ranch store with my mom, and Dad was out, you know, in the mechanic. Him and Norbert, remember?
Absolutely. The radish line rolls 24/7. You close your eyes at night, your mother used to say, I saw radishes in my sleep. And this lady here is Tony Decker, and her father, Alex Decker, worked with us from Waco with my dad, and eventually traveled to Mexico, and we're glad that you're here today too, and we miss Alex, who is a big part of our operation as well. Too many other people. Anyone we forgot,
we still remember you, whoever you are. And if there's any unpaid balance, get to me right away, because I'll only get down another 10 minutes.
Okay, I think that's it. Anybody else? Anybody out there? What have we forgotten? I don't see any checks to cash, so going once, going twice. Thank you for coming, everybody.